Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is doing well, and hope you guys enjoyed the very first part of the YouTube series that I'm working on for you guys. And today is going to be the continuation, part 2 of the YouTube series. So if you missed part 1 of the series, go down below in the description and click on the episode 1 and follow along after you have that completed. So without further ado, let's go into the simulator and take a look at where we are at in terms of development for the YouTube app. So this is kind of where we left off. Let me just bump this up a little bit. And we have the basic layout for the YouTube app. So I'm going to go back into Photoshop here and take a look at what we want to do now. So basically, the last video we stopped at the second step, and we're going to try to move on to this step where we have the assets inside of the cells, and then we have it properly sized in terms of the height of each one of these cells. So let's go back to the simulator here, and essentially we have that entire layout, and I'm going to switch to the actual app that we have here, and we want to get to a proper sizing and the proper asset for each one of these cells. So let's go ahead and take a look at Xcode here. Let me just bring the simulator back here. Command 3, shrink it down a little bit. And I'm just gonna run this application one more time to verify that we are at the proper place in our development cycle here. So a couple things that we want to fix here is the actual user profile image on the bottom left, this green square down here. I want to actually put a image for that UI image view component. So I'm going to go to video cell here, and if I look for user profile image view, I'm going to actually set the image on the image view like this, UI image, and I'm going to use a named of something that I'm going to insert into this asset catalog. So what I'm going to do now is go to Finder, and you see Finder right here. I have this Taylor Swift profile image here. I'm going to drag it in. You see the profile image, and then it is called Taylor Swift profile. So let's do Taylor Swift profile like that. The green square that we saw before will be replaced with that image that we just inserted into the assets. Now notice a couple of things here. We have two image views, one on the top and one on the bottom left, and they actually don't have the correct aspect ratio to this image. So I'm going to fix the aspect ratio by first fixing the thumbnail image view, and to easily fix it, we just set the content mode of the image view equal scale aspect fill like that. So I'm going to run that real fast to show you what that does. Essentially, the thumbnail will be stretched out, and it maintains its correct aspect ratio so that it doesn't appear kind of deformed in a way. But what actually happens is it is now extending beyond its bounds. So the bounds will need to be clipped like this. So clips to bounds equal true, and that will allow the border to kind of clip the image view's bounds. It's pretty good stuff. And what you notice is that we need to resize this image view a little later on so that it'll include the entire image for this Taylor Swift song right there. Let's see, but we'll do that in just a little bit. The next thing I want to do is I want to make this profile image circular. And the way to do that is to actually go to user profile image view, set the layer.corner radius equal something, and so we'll figure out what that something is. And let's see, before I do this next step, let's figure out what this something needs to be. So corner radius actually needs to be half of the width and height of the entire frame. So if we go back to this vertical constraint from the first video, I hope you guys remember, the height and width is actually 44 pixels, so this needs to be 22. Now if I run this, it actually doesn't appear to take any effect because we actually need to set this layer.mask to bounds also equal to true. And then we have the corner radius being kind of masked away. And then we get this perfect circle. So let me just bump this up a little bit. We get this circle right here that's a perfect circle and exactly what we need it to be. So with that being done, I can remove this green color and blue color from the backgrounds of those two components. And I want to set the text label to say Taylor Swift blank space right now. And I'm going to do that in this label right here. So label.text equals Taylor Swift dash blank space. And I'm going to remove this purple color here and run that and see what that looks like in the simulator. So we get these two image views. Now we get the title label saying exactly what we typed in here. And next we want to type in this subtitle label text down here, which is Taylor Swift Vivo bullet 16 or a billion or so. Apparently Taylor Swift is very, very famous and gets a lot of views in YouTube. So let's go to the subtitle text view and set the text equals Taylor Swift Vivo. And let me do this here. So it says, I'm just drag this down here so I can see it off screen. And it says, it has a bullet. So let me just show you guys how to get a bullet in just a bit. Billion 684,607 views, another bullet, and 2 years. Okay, so the way to get this bullet is to actually copy it from the internet. So I just got that bullet from typing in Google searching bullet in Unicode, and you get that little bullet point there. And now I'm going to remove this red color that's in the background of the subtitle text view. And then we get the subtitle text right below, but it's a little off center, or it's not aligned with the left edge of the title label. So the way to fix that is essentially this. Basically, text view has a text container inset, and by default, text views have this slight 4 pixel or 8 pixel inset from the left. So we can just set it to something else down here. So UI edge inset make 0, let's just say -8, 0, 0, and run that and see what we get. It should hopefully fix that issue that we have. So instead of 8, we'll use 4. See, it's being cut off a little bit. Now we have a label that looks like that. It's properly aligned. One final thing I want to change is the actual color, text color. Text color, like that, is going to be this light gray color. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. And we'll just run this one more time. And we get this gray color down here. So I actually want to push it up a little bit closer to the title label. And you see how there's a bit of spacing right there. And I'm gonna go back to this, these 4 constraints down here for the subtitle text view. And you see that the top constraint for the subtitle is actually 8 pixels away from the title label. So I'm gonna change that to half and make it 4. And we'll get the subtitle text label a little closer to the title label. And one thing that I'm missing in this string is this GoText. And that's kind of important for this example because the text view actually wraps around down to the very bottom. And you see how it's being cut off at the end. So let's go to the height constraint for the subtitle text view. And I'm going to bump it up to 30. This way we get a little bit of height to account for the GoText right here. All right. So a lot of good little tweaks that we've added for our layout. And the next thing that's more interesting, to me at least, is to actually decide how tall these cells need to be here. And let's take a look at the mock. So here's how sizing works for videos. Essentially, all of the HD videos that you have on the internet right now is 1080p or 720p. Essentially, what that means is we have a ratio of 16:9, and let me just type this out here. Okay, so if we take in 16 and divide it by 9, we get 1.778, right? And if you type in 1280p, which is 1280 by 720, like that, we get the exact same ratio, and 1920 by 1080 is 1080p. We get the exact same ratio. So 16:9 is the aspect ratio that we want to maintain for each one of these thumbnail images. So hopefully that's not too confusing, but here's how we apply the ratio here. So I'm going to go to size for item at index path, and that's going to bring me to home controller, size for item at index path right here, and this determines the actual sizing of these cells. So if I bump this up to 300, so an arbitrary value of 300 in height pixels, we get much taller cell size for each one of these collection view cells. And we need to figure out how tall this needs to be. And basically here is a little bit of math to get to where we want. Essentially, we know what the width of the entire view is, so we actually have to figure out what the height is using the width. So I'm going to say let height equals width, right? So what is width? Well, width we get from view frame dot width, and then the actual width of this image view is subtracted by 16 on the left side and the right side, and then we have to multiply this by 9 over 16. So that's the 16:9 ratio right there, and basically we will get the correct height using this calculation. And so I'm going to run this, and this is not exactly the height that we want for the cell. So I'm going to run this, and you see how it looks really, really tall right now. And basically we want to make sure that we put this inside of a parentheses right there. And then we have this really, really squeezed down image view because the height is actually not tall enough to include the entire thing. So what we are missing right now is we're missing a couple of things. So we have this entire height, but we actually need to add 16 pixels to the top. So add 16. And then the remainder space down here is the space that we need to add over here. So what is this missing bit right here? So essentially, that missing piece is all of the spacing that we've added into the vertical constraints in which we've laid out everything vertically. So in other words, we have 8 pixels plus 44 plus 16, and then perhaps plus this one value right here, but let's just ignore this one for now. And what we get here is we get, let's see, 52 plus 16 is 68. So if I add 68 right here, let's see, 68, and run that, we get the entire cell size pretty much perfectly, which includes the image in its correct aspect ratio. So basically it's 16:9, includes the whole image, and then we have proper spacing for the text down below. All right, I know everyone enjoys math. I hope you guys enjoy math as much as I do, but none of these values should be arbitrary. It's all calculated based on actual precise formula and somewhat basic algorithm there. Okay, drink of water now. So let's move on to something else here. One thing that I want to also change is this little separator line down below, and you notice this line is really, really dark, and that line is this separator view right here, and it's controlled by this black color. And I want to use a lighter black color, so I'm going to use RGB value. And if I use 230 by 225, 230 by 255 actually, 230, and 1. So this is basically close to white, and we just need to divide by 255 because it expects a value from 0 to 1. And then we get this really light line there. And we are pretty much done with this third step in our diagram here. And we can move on to modifying this navigation bar, which is pretty simple. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and go into app delegate here, and going to this did finish launching with options, we can modify the navigation bar color to whatever we want it to be. And we do that by using UI navigation bar appearance bar tint color equals something. So this something is going to be UI color, and I can actually use this RGB thing again, and then I can type in, like, let's say 230 over 255. I believe it's 32, 255, and 31, 255. So you notice how I had to type all these 255 values over and over again, and it's something that I would actually prefer not to do. Let's see, so the navigation bar is a little strange, and I want to, or the color of it is a little grayish, and I'm going to fix that by setting the translucency of the navigation bar to be actually non-translucent. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's see, let's go to view controller here, and then I'm going to set navigation controller, navigation bar dot translucent equals false. Run that guy one more time, and we'll get a darker red for the bar. So that's closer to what we see in this diagram here. And now we're missing this white title bar. So for example, the white text here, that title bar should be actually white. And I'm going to go to view controller. And the only way that I've been able to ever set the title view or title text for the navigation bar is to use the title view on navigation item dot title view. And this needs to be some kind of label, right? It needs to be some kind of label like that. And basically I'm going to create this title label up here and then set it to this title label. Let's see, title label. And this needs to actually use a frame instead of constraints. I'm not exactly sure why yet, but that's what we need to do. So I'm going to do 0, 0, and I'm just going to minus 32 from, let's see, view frame width, and set this as view frame height. And then we'll set the title label like that. I'm going to say title label dot text is equal to this home title, and then I'm going to set the color with text color, white color like that. And perhaps I'll tell you why I'm subtracting 32 in just a bit. Okay, so the reason why I'm subtracting 32 is actually get this little spacing here. 32 seems to work for me. Not entirely sure why it's 32, but it's definitely 16 here, and then perhaps another 16 from the left bound. And there we go. One thing I want to actually change as well is the font size to something a little bit bigger. Font size of, let's say, 20. And run that guy one more time. And you'll notice that the font is a little bigger, looks a little nicer and closer to the actual YouTube app. I think it's either 20 or 18. But regardless, it's a little bigger than the default 14 or 16 text size. Now let's move on to changing the status bar color to white instead of this black up here. So I'm gonna go to app delegate and do a little bit more work and say application dot status bar style equal this light content here. I'm gonna run this, and you'll notice that nothing actually changes up in the navigation bar, even though we set it to light content. And the reason is because we haven't set this property inside of info.plist. So I'm gonna hit this plus button here, and then I need to set this view controller based status bar property to no like that. And then I'm going to run that one more time. And then hopefully we'll see the status bar show up in white. So that's closer to what we want to achieve, but we're missing one last bit, and that is the actual background for the status bar. And there is no real property that sets the background color for the status bar, and we need to add it manually ourselves. And what I mean is we have to create this status bar, let's see, background view, I guess we'll call it. And we'll just create a new view, and then this status bar background view needs a background color, obviously. And that background color is, let me see if I can get it up here. Okay, it's this color where I have to set, right? And I have to use this red, green, blue thing again. And so at this point, I've typed these 255 values quite a few times, and it's something that I don't want to type over and over. So I'm going to go ahead and create this extension file that contains this method. So let me just create it up here first. So if I just type in extension on UI color, I can create this convenient method that returns a color for me without typing those 255 values. So I'm going to create this class static method called RGB, and it's going to return me a color. So it's going to return a UI color. It's going to return this let's see, UI color, red, and we're going to use this right here. Nope, this is actually better, red. And so I'm going to actually copy and paste this whole thing right here, and this is going to be the input parameters of my new function. And here I'm going to use, let's see, this will be float, float, float. This will be red over 255, green over 255, and blue over 255. And alpha value is pretty much always going to be 1 in terms of how I'm going to use this method. So what I mean is, instead of doing this whole thing again, I can just do this here. So I'm going to comment this out, and I can just do equals UI color dot red, so RGB, and just use 230, 32, and 31, and then be happy with that. So basically I'm going to do this here as well, and then I'm going to just set, let's see, this needs to be 194, 31, and 31. And I'm going to, let's see, run this one more time just to show you how this RGB works. Basically, the bar tint color is going to stay the same with that red value. And I'm now going to add this status bar background into the window itself. So window, this window that we've created in the first video of the series, actually is the entire window that contains everything inside of your application. And what that means is I can call window.add subview and add this status bar background view onto the entire application. And the last remaining step is to add some constraints onto where we want to place this status bar background view. So we'll use this add constraints with the format again. And so I'm just going to command click in there. And you notice how I have this extension that we created last time. And because window is actually a UI view itself, let me see if I can click into UI window. So window is actually a subclass of UI view. That means we have access to this add constraints with format. And I'm going to expand the status bar background view fully in terms of the horizontal axes. And what I'm going to do with the vertical is to do this. So vertical, pin it to the top, and V0 will be 20 pixels tall, and just leave the end like that, and just do status bar background view. Let's run this guy one more time, and we'll have our status bar pinned to the top, and it's actually 20 pixels tall, and that looks pretty good. And let's see, what am I at in terms of time? Okay, I think I have a few more minutes to clean up some of this code here. So you notice how I have this extension file up here. I actually want to include a new group in here called helpers. So this is a good programming practice that we always have in terms of keeping our code clean. I'm going to create this new file called Swift file extensions, right? So anytime I create an extension, I basically need to put it inside this file here. So I'm going to copy and paste all of this, basically cut and paste, and put it in here. Okay, get rid of the space. We run this application now. It builds successfully, and it's able to run and compile, and everything is nice and great. And let's see, if I go into this view controller file, I also have this extension now here, and I'm going to do some cleaning up again, and we have our extension for add constraints with format inside of this file. And let's see, what else can I do to further clean up my code structure? So a lot of you guys have asked about what MVC looks like, and typically you'll see MVC done like this. I'm going to create a group inside of our project, and I'm going to call it view, view. That sounds perhaps a little better. And I'm going to copy, let's see, I'm going to copy all that. And I'm going to create this new view file. And let's see, I'm just going to call it video cell. And I'm going to create it in here. And I'm going to, see, import UIKit because it contains all of these classes such as cells and labels. And now we have this inside of that file. Let me just go back to this view controller here. And then I'm going to delete all of this code. And now we have the view of MVC. We actually need to implement the group for controller. So we have view and let's see if I can bring it there. Okay, view and controller. And we're just missing the model for now. Let's see, we have home controller here, and so this obviously belongs here, and we just expand that, and then we have this home controller file now. I'm just going to run this application again. This to show you that I haven't broken anything yet, and we have the application now in the state of this fourth step here, and we can move on in the next video to kind of complete this navigation or custom navigation here, and also provide the functionality that lets us drag away the navigation bar. So pretty good. I think we're pretty close to the final iteration of the home feed, but it's going to take perhaps another video or two. I know this is a lot of content and you guys are perhaps learning a lot from it. I know going through a lot of this code might seem like I'm just doing it really quickly, but it does take me a lot of time to prepare this, and that allows me to know the code really well and type it out really fast. It might seem like magic, but I am actually preparing a lot of this material beforehand. So having said that, hopefully you'll give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to get further notifications of the next couple of videos in this series. I hope you guys have a nice day and keep learning how to program in iOS. Thank you. Bye-bye.